So we will go into the industrial symbiosis part of the session, where we have Helen Nakiguli, Senior Officer Environment Management in Uganda Communications Commission. Welcome, Helen. Wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you, Simone, and thank you for having me on this forum and conference. Good afternoon from Uganda. Like Simone has introduced me, I am Helen Nakiguli, working with the Uganda Communications Commission as the Senior Officer Environment Management. I'm also the current chairperson of the ITU Study Group 5, Regional Group for Africa. Study Group 5 is on environment, climate change, and the circular economy. So I'll go straight into my presentation, which is closing the loop on e-waste in Africa. And
now we see it.
I assume you can see it, yeah?
Yes.
So good afternoon once again. So my short presentation is on closing the loop on e-waste in Africa. And while we have had 3 days of talking about circular economy, are we all aware of what it actually means? Do we know the balance? Is there a balance between the social, the environmental, and the economic aspects therein or benefits? So my presentation will try to dissect that, and of course paying attention to the social consequences and the economic values and benefits of the circular economy. So I'll go straight into the discussion flow. So briefly, I'm tackling what is closing the loop on e-waste. And in simple terms, closing the loop is putting in place measures or actions towards effective and sustainable management. And here management, we are looking at use and disposal of electrical and electronic equipment, which I'll call the EEE, the EEE. We all use that. Most of us use that. So basically closing the loop looks at how the disposal stage of the EEE can feed back into the make, remake, use, reuse, and here we are looking at repair, recycle, refurbish, etc., before the final or premature disposal. So closing the loop is circular and not linear, and we are definitely speaking to the circular economy, which we all know now is the move away from the traditional linear model of the make, use, and dispose, and endeavoring to achieve a circular economy where we strive to reduce the input of raw materials and output of waste. In a nutshell, the circular economy, the intention is to produce no waste or pollution, and instead products, parts, and materials are reused, are cared for, repaired, reused, and recycled as much as possible. We have had these discussions in the entire 3 days, and this is the gist of the matter. And in brief, well, as earlier mentioned, do we have the balance between do we know the economic, the environmental, and social benefits of closing the loop or the circular economy now in this instance? So here we have the economic benefits, and here we are looking at the waste value, and are therefore shifting away from that take, make, consume, and throw. So we find that there is more efficient use of raw materials throughout the supply. And basically here we are trying to say that we can reduce the need of virgin raw materials by 24% in the next 10 years. So we are looking at in 2030, probably, we will have, if we go circular in Africa, we will have to reduce the need for the virgin raw materials, and we have some rare metal in there, precious minerals, that we don't want to exhaust in the environment. And this may actually save the industry turnover up to 8%. This research has shown this. Now, for the environmental benefits, we are looking at the greenhouse gas emissions on a global scale. You know, greenhouse gas emissions have no borders. We are aware of this. But then we also note that 62% of the greenhouse gas emissions come from extraction, processing, and production of goods. So when we reduce this, we are actually conserving the environment. And because 62 is quite a high percentage, and this excludes land use and forestry. So ideally, when we adopt the circular economy, we are able to fully recycle 100%. So this is a question: can we fully recycle 100%? And the answer is yes. Once we have the issues in place, the systems in place to actually get to this. So we are saying there will be no need of extracting new virgin materials. And then we should note that climate change and use of materials are closely linked. Yeah, so we are trying to save Mother Earth. So the social benefits include business from waste. We all know, we note that. Keeping valuable resources circulating in the economy supports the market for secondary products and materials. This creates new jobs in areas of high unemployment, satisfies the consumer demand for better, longer lasting products. So while at this, what do we need to do to close the loop on e-waste in Africa? We're actually saying here that how do we adopt the circular economic model in Africa? What do we need to do? I mean, here we are actually talking about why do we need to, and we have said it in the previous slide that to conserve the raw virgin material and then to enable recovery and recycling, as well as to reduce premature disposal. Here, premature disposal is, it is obvious that we throw away and we don't recover or reuse or recycle what is needed to be recycled. But while at this, I gave an example. I work for an ICT regulator, so my scope, I am well aware of this. And then we are aware that ICT gadgets, because of their short replacement cycles and lifespans, they get into the e-waste, they get to their end of life faster than even the household appliances, the white appliances. Yeah, but I'm also, while I work for the ICT regulator, I would want to mention that we are also a key stakeholder in the e-waste management value chain, and specifically with Uganda Communications Commissions, we have had quite a number of initiatives on e-waste management, including awareness and all. But we recently concluded a study on the end of life management of ICT equipment. So this can also be found on our website. But specific to this, we note that alone, in Africa alone, we have more than 650 million mobile users. We are also aware that people have handsets, more than one mobile gadget or device like a laptop, tablet, phones, two phones, because of the networks and all. But then we also notice that such devices like the mobile gadgets are replaced by the owner before they cease to be malfunctional. And some of the reasons to these are replacement is technology advancement. I mean, you cross over from 2G, 3G, now we have the 5G, yeah. And then, of course, the stylistic obsolescence, the cosmetic look of the phone. This is really design derived. And of recent, designs are not usually upgradable. You will notice that most of the phones have inbuilt or glued batteries and you can't separate them at the time you want. You can't replace the battery, which is the most less functional. It has an inherently short lifespan amongst the entire gadget of the device, and so you find that disposal is at gadget level and not component level. Yeah, you may not be able to separate the parts, and the entire gadget, once it's malfunctional, it goes into the waste stream at gadget level and not component. So you may not easily recover the rare the other parts that are for reuse, recycle, or yes. So and then we should also note that consumer acceptance to design is critical to usability and affordability. So what do we need to do to attempt to go circular, to adopt the circular economic model, but keeping in due cognizance all the balance between the social, the economic, and the environment aspects. Yeah. So here, we also note that Africa as a continent has an opportunity from learning from the previous mistakes of the developed countries, given that we are at initial stages of manufacturing or production. In the past, we haven't been manufacturing as such. We have been importing mainly from the West, from the developed economies, basically. We can now say we are getting there. We have the baby steps, and some companies are now manufacturing and assembling. So, but we are at the right stage of planning better. So here we are looking at sustainable manufacturing. And what are we looking at here? We want to look at the design make stage is very critical to allow the remake, reuse, recycle, basically to reduce the use of raw virgin material as it is for the circular economic model. We all know that. And so here we are looking at the considering the extension of life of the triple E, predetermining useful life, definitely using environmentally friendly components, minimizing resource usage, and then the sustainable end of life management strategy. Here we have mentioned the premature disposal. You will, when you dispose off in the normal waste stream, like a landfill, that could be premature disposal, other than having sustainable collection into our e-waste management center. I am glad to mention that in Uganda, we recently launched in June, that was 2 months ago, we launched our national e-waste management center, and this gives us opportunity to manage the end of life of these equipment that come into this place in the right way. We know what will be reused, recycled, repaired, refurbished, etc. So in Africa, I emphasize the empowering the informal sector in the e-waste management value chain. This is a reality. The informal sector is very critical for Africa. Now, when I talk of empowering, is not necessarily while we register them, it is very critical not to frustrate them with subscriptions, paying prices here and there, because they're very good at collection, but empowering comes with skilling them, capacity building, providing what they need to do in collection, recycling, building that capacity in that aspect. So standardization of components is very critical. Components and accessories if we are to achieve the circular economy. This has been mentioned over the 3 days. And I'm glad to note that international and regional standardization organizations have made strides in standardizing components, and specifically with the International Telecommunications Union, where, like I previously introduced myself, I'm a chairperson for the African region. Under the standardization sector, we have questions under study of circular economy. Here we do have question 7 specifically on e-waste, circular economy, and the sustainable supply chain management. So here I would want to encourage, in regards to the African region, where I am a chairperson, I would want to invite and encourage members of Africa to join the regional group of this study group. Specifically to this study group in the African region, we boost discussions on current issues, challenges, as well as priorities in the African continent. We enhance the development of contributions, and in specific to this is being able to develop standards and recommendations that suit Africa and form part of the development of international standards. And then they meet the particular requirements of the region. So we don't want to be part of, if we are part of this, we are able to put our issues forward and be part of the standards development. So our next meeting is on the 28th September. I would want to encourage that member states in the African region that are part of ITU be part of these discussions, be part of these contributions, so that we can attend this meeting on 28th September. I'll provide more information where need be on this and invite members to be part of this standards development procedures that help the African continent. Yeah, so standardization, like I said, is very critical. I'll also mention that, again, under ITU, we have developed, for instance, the universal charger, power adapter and charger solution. This has a positive impact on e-waste because it's a universal power and charger solution. So while at that, it is critical that standards are in place at component and gadget level. Component is very critical so that a component can actually work in another gadget if it is for reuse or to allow repairability and recyclability. Research and development is critical. Statistics, data collection is critical in managing steps towards the circular economy, as well as adoption of the e-waste management compliance schemes, and these include the extended producer responsibility, the take-back system. These ones have been elaborated in detail in the previous sessions, so I'll not go through that. But I also want to inform that Uganda recently has a new law on the environment law, which has separated e-waste from hazardous waste. But we are also in the process of concluding the EPR regulations, and this will go a milestone in defining what we need for the extended producer responsibility and all the compliance schemes. So in terms of next steps, I am putting them in form of question to all of us. Yeah, because if we are to achieve the circular economy, what do we need to do? So how do we encourage consumers to return their devices? What incentives do we have to put incentives in place? What do we need to do if I want to upgrade my gadget to a better advanced gadget? What happens? The take back system, what is in place for me to easily do this and actually manage premature disposal? How can we empower the informal sector to realize the circular economy objectives? This one I have mentioned it. So what do we have to do in place? What empowering are we talking about that won't frustrate the system? Yet we know they are very critical in the collection, recycling. What are the gaps that we need to do here? So what is required of government and key stakeholders? We all note that e-waste is unique in nature and requires multi-stakeholder collaboration. Not one entity can actually handle it alone. So what do we need in there? Awareness. What does the Environmental Authority need to do? What does the ICT Authority need to do? What does the National Statistics Organization, what do they need to do? What do the steering committees? I'm glad to mention, I'm sure Juma on the first day, Juma Oro the chair of Working Group 7 under the regional organization, the East African Communications Organization, mentioned what is done under that organization. And specific to this, we have the Regional Steering Committee that has cascaded into the National Steering Committee that has the various key stakeholders. And I can confirm that we have strides in that. We have reviewed policies. We are now harmonizing the e-waste data. I'm sure that has been mentioned. We have support, of course, from the United Nations University, the ITU, and other key stakeholders, we are so grateful with. So this is what is required of government. Yeah. Then what is required of the industry and consumers? Of course, the industry, I'm talking of those that will manufacture or assemble. Of course, they have to be made aware. They have to be we have to build capacity. We have to enforce some laws, some policies that ensure that circularity is taken care of. And of course, the consumers, we can do much as consumer awareness, put in place adequate consumer awareness and put in place systems to enable them take back. Basically, that has been mentioned. So my parting words are electrical and electronic equipment, and especially those for ICTs, have driven the development towards the circular economy. However, the growing numbers of connected devices, digital technologies, and other Internet of Things, and rightly now so because of the pandemic, we are all online. We should have come to Nairobi for this event, but all these are contributing to the increase of EEE in the waste stream. It is thus important that the sustainable make design of these is responded to urgently in due cognizance of the circular economy model. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helen. Really impressive and wonderful work being done in Uganda and by the group also. And thank you for that invitation for everyone to recognize what ITU is doing and in your group as well. I hope people take the opportunity to learn more about this and the possibilities for the member countries